Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Inside Rovers Away Days preview. Joining me to look ahead to this weekend's game against Wycombe Wanderers in Sky Bet League One Club, Doncaster media manager Liam Hoden and sports writer for the Doncaster Free Press, Paul Goodwin. Liam, as away games go at this level, any time in the season, Wycombe is always one that you're slightly worried about, isn't it? They're a good side, Wycombe, very well rehearsed at this level. It's a big test, this one, for Gary McSheffrey's men.
It's massive, they, as you say, everything about them. Their organisation is unreal at Wycombe, and Adams Park. They seem to have it better than anywhere else. It's always tough. We saw earlier in the season, Wycombe in that game perhaps weren't that spectacular, but they got a 2-goal lead and just managed the game superbly. Managed the game better than anybody else we've seen this season that Rovers have come up against. So it's always tough. And we know how relentless they are in their attacking play. They're just going to throw everything they've got at you until they find a weakness.
Well, despite the fact that Rovers haven't picked up any points or any goals really in recent weeks, apart from the point against Fleetwood, the teams above aren't winning either, are they? So Rovers are sort of still hoping, still dangling by a little bit of a thread. There's still that chance there, whenever it's 4 points, that you win on Saturday and all of a sudden it becomes 1 point. The thing is, though, Rovers have got to start producing in an attacking sense.
There's still a chance, isn't there? There's still that faint hope that Doncaster can pull something off miraculous, but unfortunately, the evidence on the pitch doesn't give you too much optimism in that respect. Looking at the fixtures this weekend as well, Robbie, that there could be a potentially pivotal weekend, with Fleetwood playing at Crewe, Doncaster with a very tough game on paper at Wycombe. I just hope Doncaster can come out of this weekend with the gap maybe that it hasn't increased anymore. So we go into the Crewe game and there's still a fighting chance. So that's the way I'm looking at this weekend. It is a potentially big one.
And it's a ground where you know what you're going to get from Wycombe. They're going to try and get the ball in the box nice and early. Rovers' defence is going to be tested in it. What do you think Gary McSheffrey does? Does he stick with a back three and maybe bring Ollie Younger back in and put a bit more security at wing back with Noyle potentially?
I think that's the way he'll go. Yeah, I think he'll be reluctant to go to a back four after what happened at Cheltenham, and Cheltenham is a very sort of similar test in the terms of throwing stuff into the box. So I think you're right, Robbie. I think he'll set up with a back five. I asked him about the game plan yesterday in terms of, is it time to shake things up, maybe get on the front foot. But you can kind of understand why he'd want to go to Wycombe and maybe be cautious first, and set up defensively strong and take it from there. It's a balancing act at the minute, isn't it? He's got to be cautious. He's got to be defensively strong. But there comes a point as well where Rovers have got to get on the front foot. They've got to have a go as well, and really take the game to teams as well. So I'm hoping to see a bit of a balance. We've got to see more attacking wise. We've got to see more in the final third.
Liam, there is that sort of balancing act, isn't there, as Paul says, but the simple facts are, with 6 games to go, you can't afford to be worrying too much about what the opposition are going to do. The simple facts are you have to win as many games as possible to stay in the division.
That's it. And I think we've seen it on occasions. You can, if you look into too much to the defensive side of things, and as the game draws on, it gets harder to ignite anything going forward. It can be a little bit sluggish, and then you really struggle to get out of that mode and really try and make something happen if you happen to fall behind, as we saw probably most against Gillingham. When you really kind of trying to ignite something up top. This is it. Rovers aren't going to get out of this by drawing games. It's just not going to happen. There's not enough points available, not enough games left in which to do that. So they've got to go out and win. This one is a difficult one as Paul touched upon, to approach. You want to be defensively sound against Wycombe, otherwise it'll be a very, very difficult afternoon for you, and they will just keep going until they get their noses in front in a position of some comfort. They will just keep coming at you. So, but what we haven't seen enough of is the real clear-cut chances being created. It might just need one or two. We've not really had that in recent weeks. So it must get better on attacking terms. And when the chances do come, we've got to see some of that ruthlessness that we've just not seen enough, particularly recently.
Yeah, Paul, in a game like this, you know that chances are going to be few and far between, don't you? When they come along, whether Rovers have 10% of the ball or whether they have 60% of it, the key facts are you've got to take your chances if you're going to come away with something.
Definitely, and like Liam's touched upon there, we can't afford to get into a situation where it's just wave after wave of Wycombe attack. We need to offer something ourselves on the ball. We need to be better on the ball. We need to get higher up the pitch. And I think one of the key points on Saturday is we need a front man to get a hold of the ball, make it stick, and be able to bring others into play and to maybe get players running beyond him, because that was something that was completely lacking last weekend. There was just a kind of a disconnect really between the attack and the midfield, and that is something that Gary McSheffrey's got to resolve, whether it's in terms of changing the personnel or the structure. I'll throw one at you here, lads, but I mentioned it on my little bit on the Free Press. What about starting Tommy Rowe up front, or maybe just behind Rio Griffiths? Just try something a little bit different. Nothing against the two lads that started up front against Charlton, but it was just nowhere near the required level.
I think you've got to be able to offer something, haven't you? When you look at what Rovers did at Sunderland, what they did at Lincoln, what they did at MK Dons, the complementary factor of how well they did defensively was probably based on the fact that they had something then going forward. When they got the ball, it wasn't just coming straight back at them because they knew they had outlets at the top end of the pitch.
Yeah, and fingers crossed, personally, hopefully Rio will be fit. I know he's been struggling with a couple of injuries recently, but you think back to that Sunderland game and the impact that Rio had with his finish, and it's something that Gary touched upon yesterday in his press conference. You think of those two goals, Griffiths up at the Stadium of Light and Tommy Rowe's finish. You know, it just feels like an eternity ago, that sort of incisiveness in the final third, and Rovers have really got to muster that from somewhere tomorrow. If they get a set piece, they've got to make the most of that. They've just got to come up with something. Really, some sort of inspiration. I guess you're looking at players like Tommy Rowe to provide the kind of performance he did at the Stadium of Light. You need players like that to stand up, but we can't just keep relying on Tommy. It's up to all the lads to put in a shift.
Liam, it's obviously going to be treated as a bit of a party, carnival atmosphere, Akin Fenwa Day, as it's been labelled. Of course, he'll be retiring at the end of the season. What a player he's been. He's obviously had the short stint at Rovers back in 2004. I think it was 4 goals in 9 appearances, just 4 starts in a Rovers shirt. Since then, of course, he's gone on to be a well-known figure, both on and off the pitch. Of course, they're going to make a big fuss of him on Saturday. Is the hope that they just take their eye off the ball a little bit, both in the stands and on the pitch as well?
We perhaps saw that at Sunderland with the massive fuss they made of Jermaine Defoe's return and coming back into that one. There were a certain level of expectation there. You know, we felt the party atmosphere. You know, it felt like it were all set up for Sunderland, perhaps even set up for Defoe to come off the bench and work some magic. But it didn't happen. Rovers spoiled that party. There's the hope that will happen. Obviously, at this stage of the season and with time rapidly running out, Wycombe have dropped out of the top 6. The form has been really good recently, you know, since that wobble that they've had. So you'd expect, I suppose, that they will have the mind firmly on the job, the task in hand. They can't afford to lose any more ground on that race for the top 6. But there is that hope, you know. People can get caught up in stuff a little bit. And what suited Rovers particularly well at Sunderland was the fact that they started after probably 5 or 10 minutes of being a bit phased by what were going off. They really went at Sunderland quite early in the game and quietened everything down. So if they can do that again, that'll be massive. But yeah, fingers crossed. People have got their minds on Adebayo Akinfenwa.
Well, Paul, in years gone by, he's always been the main man at Wycombe, hasn't he? However, now you're looking at him and it's doubtful whether he'll even start the game. You've got Hanlon and Vokes both up there who themselves, on any normal given day, are 2 big centre forwards. Of course, they look pretty small, right, compared to Akinfenwa, but they've got a lot of different options up there, which is why they are challenging for a top 6 spot.
Yeah, they're good at what they do, aren't they? Like you say, they've got plenty of options. I just hope that the script isn't written for Akinfenwa to come off the bench and do you know what. We've already seen, haven't we, in the home game where I can't remember who he went up against with that header, but he obviously got on the score sheet in the game at Doncaster. So I think Rovers know they'll be fully briefed. They know fully what to expect tomorrow against Wycombe in terms of the physical challenge. And they've got to be up for it, they've got to be up for the fight. They've got to show a bit of fight. They've got to show that they really care, I think. And let's try and get at them, if we're going to go down with a fight. I think people will accept it if we go there and get in their faces, make life difficult for them, put them under a bit of pressure. If we lose on the day and Wycombe with a better team, fair enough. But let's go there and do ourselves justice.
Liam, to finish off, do you sort of echo what Paul said there about going there, getting in the face and just making it as difficult as we possibly can?
I think that's got to be the way. And I think that's what when this kind of sort of revival of Rovers start, this upturning form, from mid-January onwards, that run, what were pleasing at that point is there'd been a few months where it looked like Rovers were just on that decline, that it were going to be a very difficult second half of the season. They at least showed in that run after that, also picking up results along the way, but that they were going to, if they were going down, they were going down with a fight. This last few weeks, it's been hard to retain that same sort of faith. That's what that they have done, and I think a lot of part of that has just been how kind of stagnant the attacking players been. If they can produce something, and make a fight of it, make a battle, even if it's a case of how it were down at Milton Keynes when we're backs to the wall for virtually 90 minutes, and they defended absolutely outstanding on that occasion and showed that bit of incisiveness as well. People will come away, people will be heartened by that, and there's still hope. It's remarkable with the situation, but there is still hope, and let's see that hope continue into this final month of the season.